two, 1, 2. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, let me check some things and we can start. So, I think you're hearing correctly. So, maybe let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. So we can start. This is live solutions. I wasn't doing them really often, but I want to maybe retake where I was, trying to give some little advice to you, maybe some lessons, but I'm mostly just trying to answer your questions. So if you have any question related to bass music or whatever, you can go here and on the comments you can maybe give me some feedback about how are you feeling with your instrument, what can I do for maybe give you a little advice, I don't know. So this is maybe a kind of a recurrent thing that I was doing. And I was doing it weekly, and then I stopped, and I'm always trying to get back to it. So that's it. So I'm going to say some things in Spanish in case there's someone that doesn't understand me. Gente en español, recuerden que pueden también hacer preguntas y voy a estar respondiendo lo más detalladamente que pueda. Okay, so who's starting? Okay, let me know if you have some questions and I'll be just playing in the meantime, I think. So, as always, I just want to thank you, everyone, for being that kind and supportive to me. And it's been a long journey now. I'm older, I think. I'm bolder. Look. So it's been some time. It's been some years, and we're living in a quite difficult situation, I think. So it's kind of a strange time, of course, but many of the things that some people are doing now, I was doing them before. I mean, related to translating all the knowledge and music education and all of that into the internet and trying to communicate with you in the best way possible. And I've been trying to struggle to make that, and it's always difficult, but let's see what we can do. Okay. Mr. Turbo VOB has a kind of like a not bass related question, but I want to answer that. What did you expect when you made this channel, and what is your passion about it? I don't think I was expecting nothing really. My goal for the channel, as I always say it was quite personal. It was maybe a kind of like a self-educational way for me to begin with my instrument. I just wanted to record myself. I just wanted to learn some things about transcription and bass, and all of that went into this idea of asking people to tell me what they wanted me to play. So it began like that. I wasn't really expecting the growth that this has been accomplished, but yeah, that was the beginning of it. And obviously things went very well. So again, I'm very appreciative of that. So okay, you're kind of like more interested in in things about me than maybe teaching you something, but it's okay, I guess. But if you have questions, remember to leave them on the chat. So Toby Neal asks, J bass or P bass, which do you prefer? Well, I don't know if you follow the things that I sometimes write on the community tab, but I'm always kind of like giving you hints about what I think about many things. And one of the things that I'm not very aware of is related to have a lot of experience on different instruments, or maybe even on different basses. Like I said before, this is just the only instrument I ever played, and I think I've never played. Maybe I played other J basses, but never played a P bass. Okay, so for people that doesn't know the difference between a jazz bass or precision bass, that's the letter for each type of bass. It all depends on the pickups, the little microphones that get the signal of the way you're playing. So J basses, jazz basses were made after, I think, the precision bass. Precision bass was the first type of bass that ever existed, and it has different qualities, obviously, on sound. I'm not very aware of the gear differences, but you can perceive when a bass has a J sound or a P sound. So kind of like I think it's a bit more brightness on a J bass, and that you can achieve a little bit more clarity or presence, but less body, and you have more body, I think, on precision basses. So maybe that's a little example of that. Okay, so more questions, maybe. It's flowing, so I'm trying to get in touch with it. P bass sounds a lot more thicker in tone. It's the sound of bands like Guns N' Roses, Ramones, many others. Yeah, it's mostly preferred on a rock ambient, I think. But you can see exceptions in many different genres. I don't know. Sometimes, obviously, I've had to use my J bass to play some P bass lines all over through the covers that I've been playing. Mostly, I'm trying to emulate that sound, changing tone. Okay, changing tones with the order of the pickups. So here I'm just playing with full tone and full both pickups. It's something like this. And if I leave only my neck pickup, it sounds something like this. Maybe you can sense some type of a different tone of it. It's a little bit more dark, and it also depends on where are you playing. So that's maybe an interesting thing about tone that we can discuss. But here I'm playing right in the middle between the two, and here's again both. Just neck and just the bridge. So you can feel differences on that, and I think when I'm confronted with some with some P bass covers, I usually go and play with the neck pickup. And if I need more darkness, I'm usually trying to play more on this part of the bass, you know, right on the pickup that I'm selecting. If I were to play here and this is not activated, and you lose a little bit of presence, right? So I think that's the idea of that. But you will never get the same, obviously the same sound, right? And that's it. Slap is not a question, so you need to formulate that so it becomes a question. If you were to get another bass, what bass would you get to replace that one? I don't know. It's funny because I was just thinking about buying this same bass and trying to to create some alterations on that type of duplication of my instrument. I don't know. It's so weird. Maybe for some of you that I've never played a different bass, but that's just me. I don't know. But if I were to get another one, I would probably find the same, or maybe I would just go for some nice Fender or something like that. I like J basses, really, related to the same question before, but I love to have, you have to understand that some basses are kind of like different animals. I think it's not the same saying that you want to have a 4-string bass and maybe having a 5-string bass. It's almost like having another type of instrument. Having a fretless bass, for me, it's almost also like having a different type of instrument, and whatever other kind of important alteration that you're doing to this. It's never the same to add another string or playing just in 4, right? Or playing without frets. It's different things that you have to think about, right? What makes a good tone? So I'm picking some questions that maybe can relate to each other, and I would like to talk a little bit about tone, if you like, because it's really interesting. So now I'm playing through Cubase. I have some plugins installed, but it will be just the same for all the things that I'm going to do, and you'll notice that the difference in tone will change tremendously. So the first thing that you need to know about the more of the physical aspect of the instrument is that action, or the distance between the or how close are the strings to the neck or to the pickups, or to the bridge, really, alters the way the sound comes out. So now and always, most of the time, I'm having quite a high action. I'm not a low action guy. Having a low action is more like Flea, maybe. Flea plays with this sound all the time. I mean, you can feel the fret buzz all the time when he's playing, even if he's playing a little bit in lower dynamics or lower strength. You can feel some of that force behind that, and I'm not really that into it, because I think you can achieve more variety of sound. That's just me, obviously. If you get a little bit higher. So I'm a little bit higher on my action, or my distance between pickups and strings, right? So let's say if I want to have kind of like a more jazz oriented tone, or maybe some more clarity, or maybe I want to have more dark sound, more like heavy metal sound. I think that's kind of like an opposite of bass sounds that you can think about. It's all about range. It's all about having different types of range in your tone and your fingers, and that's why some people and most of people say that bass is bass tone. It's all in the fingers, because you can control the harmonic richness of you can control the harmonic richness of the sound that comes out depending on where are you playing. You know, if I play I don't know, this D here, you can notice that you can create harmonics over this false harmonics all over this same string. So you can find the root tone, you can find the octave, the octave sound over here, and then you can find different harmonics. And those different harmonics you can alter, and you can accentuate more if you're playing on that part or if you're playing on this part, because when you alter harmonics, you also alter the tone of your playing. So that's, I think that's something that not many people explain it this way, but I think that's what's happening really, because if I were to play over here, the sound is something like this. I'm with full both pickups over here. This is kind of like a neutral sound because it's both. So you can go like this. So I'm playing on the bridge pickup, and you will feel that there's more tension on the strings, and there's also more high harmonics that make it have a little bit more presence, a little bit more mid-high register, so it sounds a lot more cutting through. So you can cut through if you play over here. And if I want to accentuate that and just playing only on the bridge pickup, I would just go something like this. This is only bridge pickup. And this is kind of like a usual jazzy sound that you can find in like a I don't remember, but maybe something like just playing I don't know, jazz solos, or having like that kind of presence on it, right? Kind of like a Jacko sound, really. Kind of like I think that is kind of a way to achieve some of the Jacko sound. It's just playing right on the bridge pickup and playing just with the bridge pickup over here. So I think that's the highest presence that you can get. So from there you can just go up, and then the sound will change depending on that. So maybe I can make kind of like a loop. A lot of presence. I'm changing. I'm trying to apply the same force because changing your the strength, it's another type of a different tone that you can achieve. So I'm trying to kind of like maintain middle fourths over here. I'm going up. This is kind of a middle position again, full both pickups, and I'm playing. And this is kind of like a standard, maybe in between sound. Then I'm going over here. It's getting a little bit darker and a little bit harder to manage because strings are a bit more loose over here than here, so you need to be a little bit more careful about what are you doing. Then over here. And over here, maybe over there, right? If I go on the range of all the different songs that I played, you can find here is the sound maybe of Black Sabbath, something like that kind of sound, but not full, just with the neck pickup again. Maybe something like that. Maybe you can play some reggae over here. It's just about having a lot of darkness and more bass, obviously. If you want to emulate kind of like a double bass sound, you can maybe play over here. I don't know. So you can see that there's many possibilities that you can achieve only with checking about what are you doing with your pickup levels, and I think that's a difference that I don't know if it's kind of like the same with a P bass, but with a J bass, in which you have different distances between pickups. It's a little bit more versatile, maybe. I don't have the correct experience to say that at 100% sure of what I'm saying, but again, full both pickups, and I can change the sound just in a middle strength, going over here. And you can play with that a lot. And I mean, if you are even trying to get a little bit more technical or trying to do some things, you can kind of like find exactly the same position of the harmonic you're trying to play, and accompany the movement of your hand with the movement of your right hand, so you can do something like I don't know, over there, and trying to do something like. You can see I'm keeping the distance between both hands, and that allows me to kind of like nail exactly the same harmonic that I'm trying to, or maybe about the same position of the harmonic I'm trying to accentuate, right? So that's just a thing that you can change in tone, and it's not maybe that related to your own fingers, but if you're trying to apply different tones with the force of your fingers, it also changes. I think the struggle for me is trying to imitate with a high action the same sound that you can get with lower action. It's kind of that fretty sound. It's a little bit more aggressive. It has kind of like a growl behind it. So if you're able to play a little bit harder, you can achieve that if you play maybe with full both pickups, but I'm trying to concentrate on playing in this pickup and doing something like this. I mean, I'm jigging a little bit more, and I get that kind of like a slappy sound that you can get. But I'm playing quite hard, really. I'm not tensing myself up, but I'm trying to play a little bit more hard. So. Maybe that's a little bit more funky sound that you can get if you're trying to get a little bit more dirty in your sound. But you can again change the same, and I think the cool idea would be to maybe use a lot of these techniques and trying to make a blend of both of them, or many of them. Maybe trying to. Can you see? I mean, can you hear the change of it? So maybe you can. So the difference there is just in a little bit more strength. If I do a little bit less strength on the same part, it's not the same sound. It's more relaxed. And again, the same over here. I'm applying more strength if I want to get more into it. Or less. Right? So I think those are some notions about a tone that you can play around with. It's just about. I mean, maybe you can write on the comments about different genres, and we can also cover what it's kind of like the standard bass sound that you can get out of it. But I'm thinking about, I don't know, if I were to play some. Let's think about rock. If I were to play some rock, maybe I would go and play more on this neck pickup, doing something like this. Maybe I can give it more strength. Right? If I want to go more heavy metal or kind of like old school, maybe I would play even more darker. So maybe if I'm going to play more progressive things and I want to have more clarity on it, I would play a little bit more over here. I don't know. It's about the bassist also. If I'm thinking I don't know, Gary Lee. If I'm thinking Gary Lee on this bass, maybe I would play on the neck pickup and trying to have a lot of presence over there. Because he has lower action, I'm having high action, so I have to compensate with that with more force, right? But if I were to play it, I don't know, with bridge pickup over here, that's also an option. But if I were to play this same thing over here, as I did on the cover that I have, and that was a little bit wrong, I think, because I was playing like over here, and the sound is a little bit more thinner than it is on the reality of Geddy Lee's playing. He's always playing, I think, over here. And you have a little bit of growl behind it, so I don't know. So and those are different. Again, Flea, if you want to play Flea on a little bit more high action bass, maybe I would find the rebound point, the more loose string point, and I would play something like and I'm kind of like achieving the same sound, but it's not the same because he plays really low action and he plays on the bridge really. But I have to achieve a lot of strength to try to emulate this same sound with higher action. So, but I'm playing really hard, really. So if you have some experience, you will find that your dynamic range will kind of like change. You will have more dynamic range, and that means that you will be able to play softer and harder, right? And those differences will matter a lot, I think, for building tone, for building different things. So I don't know if you have any questions related to this. Maybe we can move on a little bit, but this was something that I wanted to talk about a little bit, because I think it's true that you can find a lot of tone in your fingers. Obviously, if you manifest that only with fingers, it will not be the same. You have to have some sound issues related to the pickups you're using, and also the gear that you're using a little bit, and the setting of the amp, the setting of the different alterations that you can do to the signal or the sound. But if the root of the signal, and that is your fingers, it's the bass, if you have that well managed, you will need less action of your gear, less action of amp. You will need less of anything, because you will be sounding like that just on the root of your fingers, right? So I don't know if you get me, but if you don't, you can ask me, right? So many differences in tone that you can achieve. I'm usually, this is my take on this, but if I were to play something a little bit more in like a bass solo kind of type of a thing, I would play bridge pickup over here. I don't know. So I'm trying to have more presence, trying to play right over here, because I want to be cutting through and making a kind of like a solo thing, right? If I want to also be more clear and playing lines like that I want to have more a little bit more of a thin sound and more presence, I will go again for this. If I want to have more of that punchy sound, I can get all of that punch over here, I think. It gets a little bit muddy, but if I do it over here, and I go both maybe, or maybe just neck, but I'm usually both, and I'm trying to play a little bit more of a funky thing, I can add a little bit more of that fretty sound and more growl. So it may be something like I don't know, and I can have more dynamic range over here because I can go from like this with less with a little bit less of that growl, and I can just kind of like do a crescendo of that emotion. And play a little bit with that, right? So I have already kind of like two settings of sound. If I want to go more dark, I will go over here. Right? And if I want to I don't know what else I want to do right now, but there you have different kind of positions of your fingers that you have to be able to manage, being comfortable with all of that. What I'm trying to do, at least when I'm asked to play bass on bands or whatever, is trying to make variations on that to create not a style of myself, but trying to accompany the emotion that I'm feeling on the song. Really, if I want to have more of that sound or less of that, I want to be creating a range of sound, right? So again, I can begin over here. Let me put maybe some drums so I can kind of like give you a test of that. But what I'm going to try to do now is play with different types of sound that I just told you about. So maybe some drum track. Okay. So I'm going to try to play middle position right here. Middle strength. Same position, a little bit more strength. Right? The same, but over here. A little bit more clarity, and I can play a little bit more effectively because the strings are a little bit more tense over here. right? So this is only full both pickups. Now I'm changing to bridge. Solo maybe. To again add more presence on it, and maybe I just want to keep a little bit more of a neck pickup groove, and I would be something like maybe something like this. Less strength, more, a little bit more rebound if you want. Right, so there I just think I have a lot of variety of sound, and that is I think that is the idea of playing with versatility, right? Because you can manage to have all those different types of sound, and I'm not changing a thing on my setup of whatever things, right? It's all over here, and I don't know. What do you think about this that I'm talking about? Let me know. Any advice on how to create a synth-based sound that's close to a keyboard, says Dennis. Like can hit, or for example, anything I have tried with bass guitar synth sound somewhere near that. That's always difficult. I think that's a little bit more depending on what year you have, because to create a synth sound with only, I don't know, the signal of your own bass, it's a little bit more difficult. If you want to have, related to this that I was just saying, if you want to have more of an octave feel, like you're playing a lower octave on your notes, you can kind of like if I'm playing A over here and I activate the string on the same fret but an octave higher, that would be on the 17th fret, you kind of like get a little bit of a natural octave sound, because I'm playing right on the octave harmonic, right? But that's not enough to create kind of like a synth sound. Having some pedals may be good. Maybe having an envelope filter. Maybe having a synth pedal. There's synth pedals that you can. The signal goes through that pedal, and it becomes another signal of a synthesized sound of the same note. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't work that great. But playing with octaves, it always gives kind of like that sound also. I mean, if you add an octave pedal behind it, a little bit distortion, you can have kind of like a synth sound. But it's difficult if you don't have the right amount of things, I think. Okay, so a little bit more questions, maybe. Just preparing to say thank you for your videos. Starters, blah, 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 blah. And your videos are huge. Thanks so much, Adam, for your words. I started bass only pretty recently. Been playing bass for a year and a half now, and your videos are a huge help with everything. Thank you so much. Where do you get your motivation to play bass or any instrument for that matter? I think that's an interesting thing, maybe more related to an attitude than any other things. But I remember it happened to me with guitar, and I think that's the reason I left guitar. I think it's that, and it happened to me before also with bass. And motivation for me, it's always related to what I can learn and what I can study about music. Really, not that necessarily about the instrument, the technicalities of the instrument. I don't want to be that technical on my playing. I don't think that's the thing that I want to stand out more about, and I want to stand out more in things related to knowledge and things that I can study and put in the instrument, and that is a thing that kind of like motivated me, because when I played guitar when I was younger, I think I just left playing because I wasn't able to play technical things. Maybe I wasn't able to play a sweeping technique, maybe I wasn't able to play a good tapping technique, maybe I wasn't fast enough, and that for me was like the roof, and that in my reasoning wasn't allowing me to progress. But I think for me, in my present, that's a little bit ridiculous. I think you don't advance on your playing just because you manage more technical things. You need to use those technical tools to create theoric knowledge. Really, you need to have musical knowledge applied to all of this. You can play a lot of sweep picking of I don't know, one chord, and maybe you don't even know what the chord name is. Maybe you don't even know what the chord function is, what the chord is doing to other chords to create a different kind of progression and all of that, how to improvise over that, and that's all knowledge that you can study. So I don't know if it's your thing, but for me, my thing and what worked for me is just getting into harmony, getting into studying theory. And for me, harmony and having my teacher and having all those analysis of different things that happen in harmonically, how to improvise and all of that, allowed me to view music, I think, in a different way, really. Because you get a little bit more motivated if you want to check out, oh, what I'm playing, this D over here, it's not just D, it's the tonic of a chord that is creating a different function on harmony, where I can go from here. If I'm playing D major, maybe I want to go to the 6th grade or to the 5th grade, maybe to the 4th, and play Lydian. Go to Mixolydian. Oh no, I mean that's an example, obviously, but if I'm thinking all of those things in my head, I'm quite entertained and motivated because there's I think an infinite roof related to theory in comparison with a just thinking about technical things, because you will always hit a roof in physical activity, but you will never hit a roof in theoric knowledge. So I don't know. It may not be your thing, but I think it should, or maybe you should consider it. Right? Studying, it's a good motivator. How do you play? Or many thanks for your video. I want to start the slap technique and whatever. Whenever I hit the E string with my thumb, the string hits the first fret and make a bass sound. Any recommendation? Okay, Ron K has a question related to I don't know, maybe a bad sound on on slapping, right? So whenever he hits the E string with his thumb, the string hits the first fret and make a bass sound. I don't know. That may be something related to adjustment, really. If you're playing an open string and you're finding a little bit too much of that fretting right over here on the first fret, it may have something to do with adjustment of the truss rod, and it's the little thing that you can put a little wrench over here and check that out. But I wouldn't encourage you to do that if you are not really aware of what you're doing. So check some videos maybe on bass adjustment here on YouTube, and you will find that may be the problem, because if you look at your bass and the strings on the first fret are not separate enough, or maybe they are too close, when I'm going to do this, it will sound something like this, maybe. That kind of sound, and that sound is just the strings hitting the frets, really. So maybe check something about that. I don't know. I don't think I have much more questions. I don't know. But what do you use to listen to record your bass? So I'm using an audio interface that's a Scarlett Focusrite interface, audio interface, and I just connect myself through also a DI box. A DI box is just a thing that kind of like cleans your signal and sends the signal in a balanced way. When you're using just I don't know, just a chord to go through your amp, for example, you're injecting the amp with an unbalanced signal, and when you go through a DI box and then through your amp or through your audio interface, it becomes a balanced signal, and the output it's from a microphone cable, not an instrument cable, and that cleans the signal a lot. So you have that clean sound on it, and I don't know. There's a lot of specification that you can find on the description of the channel. I don't know if that many people know that you can find a lot of different information on the description of the channel. So you can check that out. I would love it. I don't know. Maybe you wasn't ready for this, but I'm going to try to schedule this so you know when it's coming, and maybe you can prepare some questions related to what we're talking about. But yeah, I think this space will be more related to things like we just talked about, and a little bit less about what's your favorite whatever, right? So think about that. Boomer bass meme. How is your band doing during the quarantine? I am so glad you turned us onto it. Have really been enjoying your original music. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like thought about it. I wasn't sure that that I wanted to show everything that I'm doing, but I think there's some value on people understanding what I'm doing, what's my take on trying to create original lines, what I can do, and it's a little related to what we were talking about, related to tone. I think in most of the songs of my band that I've been uploading, obviously they have the quality that you can find different genres on the same song, and that is interesting to put this kind of advice that I just gave you into the experience of the song, because I have to maybe play some slap, right? But then I have to go into playing a little bit more funky finger things. So I'm obviously slap is more of a fixed position. I'm playing slap over here, and this is the place that you have to play slap. You can play slap over here. I mean, you can try. But you lose a lot of the presence related to this. So you have slapping over this position, but also I have more of a funky feeling over here. I'm not doing it's not that clean, that part. It's more like a and that, for example, is just adding a little bit more of that growl behind it. So it's not the same that doing and doing or doing. You know, so I'm fixing that. I'm trying to have that sound over here. Maybe something like that, and then the song goes into more of a bluesy thing. So then I don't think I recorded with different pickups. I was just using full pickups and both pickups, and then when the song goes more into a bluesy part, I'm trying to play more on this section of the bass over here. Right, something like that. So it's darker and it's a little bit more round, and it suits the genre that you can find on that section of the song. It's a little bit more blues oriented, more jazz blues or whatever. So that creates I mean something more interesting in my opinion, I would say. Also, this is not the place for saying can you do a cover of whatever, because I won't really read it, and it will be just it will just get lost in the comments. So you can do that on the comments of any video, but can you do a cover of whatever? I'm not going to read that really now, so sorry. Sorry about that. Is there any good tips on improving accuracy on thumping? I don't know what you're referring to really with thumping. I mean, you are you referring to the double thumb, that something like this? I'm not really good at that. Really, I don't use it that much, and I don't really use it that much. So maybe I can give you a lot of tips on that, but I don't really know if you're referring to that. What else? I've been playing bass for over 2 years, but for me it's impossible to play Hysteria by Muse. Any advice? So, I mean, it's a hard song. I don't know if when I did the cover I was playing that amount of time already, but when it's related to speed, I think the most important thing that you have to keep in mind is that speed will not come easily, never. You will have to work on it, and what I mean by working on it, it's just setting up your metronome and going and whatever until you really and you have to be true to yourself. I think you have to be really sure and say, okay, on this speed that I have now, I'm about 100% perfection of sound, if you could say. I mean, I can nail the notes right. I'm having a relaxed position when I shift my hand, right? It's not something like this. Okay, I'm not moving my fingers too much. I'm doing I'm trying to have an accurate position on it, and I'm trying to not release my fingers of the fret if I can. So maybe something like that if I want to. Maybe something like something like that, or something like that. But I'm always having a correct amount of energy wasted on whatever thing. I'm not wasting energy, and I'm not trying to play inefficiently. I'm always trying to play efficiently, even in lower speeds. And when I'm doing that on lower speed, and I'm really sure about that, I'm really creating a memory. I'm creating a physical memory of what I'm doing. So it's different to just go and trying to begin with a higher tempo and doing something like this. And I'm just lost on it, and I say, okay, it's cool, let me try to do it again on the same tempo all the time. That won't really get you anywhere. So you need to go really low tempo and build up from that, really really slow. So maybe you can have kind of like there's many metronomes that you can find that they also go up in tempo, and you can build that in that way. If you have Go Play Along, and that is the software that I use to play the tabs over here, that software has the option of having a tempo trainer, so you can play the song on 50% less tempo, and each time you play it, you add, I don't know, 1% more of that speed. So that will help you to create the memory. I think it's all about creating the memory of your muscles, right? But it's funny how maybe something like a little bit of a difference in the way you're playing something can achieve more efficiency than the way you're doing it right now. So check that out. Check if your technique is correct also. So I don't know if today I'm going to say all the things that I always say about technique, but if you have some questions, again, you can always let me know. Okay. I've been enjoying your content for a long time, man. I learned how to play bass because of your content. Thank you. Side note, I know you don't like this, but it would be cool if you did some more punk. Thanks, Gabe. Thanks so much. Yeah. I think that I mean I've been playing more slap because I have to a little bit more. I have to be a little bit more familiar with that because of I'm playing funk, right? So in all of the covers and that, but I gotta be honest with you. I don't think I play slap that much compared to just fingers, but I want to be a versatile type of player, so I'm always practicing those things, but most of the time I'm just going. I don't know. So most of the time I'm just going slap and pop and trying to do a fast slapping, maybe just slapping. I like that, and I also like to just pop. Maybe mix of those, but I'm not that into double thumping, because I think when you have a higher action, more things are harder to do. I would say that objectively because I've played a lot with a lower action, and slapping with lower action it's a lot easier to do those things, because when you're watching, I don't know, Victor Wooden, you see the way he's playing, and you see, okay, he's doing all of those things, but I don't see a lot of efforts on that way of playing, and it's because of that, because it's not really a lot of physical effort compared to playing with higher action, because it's playing with lower action, and you can just go like this, a little bit like, and that's already slapping. It's a little bit just, and then you have that, and it will sound really present because the strings are more close to the microphones. So I mean the pickups are microphones. I like to think of that. So So it's a little bit easier to do that with a well adjusted instrument. Doing something like this. I'm playing hard to get that, and if you're not that accustomed to that, you will feel kind of like a damage in your thumb, right? Right, but he doesn't go like with all those with all that strength on that. He don't you don't see him do something like a something like that. He just goes, and that's it, right? And that is the sound. But if I do something like that, it sounds really weak. So those are differences that you have to kind of like live with it a little bit. I have to live with the idea that I have to apply more strength if I want to have that aggressivity. If I have higher action, if I have lower, I think I lose a little bit more of that dynamic range. I can't sometimes play some things that are that dynamic. But also for me, it's more like even a philosophical choice in some kind of matter. I don't know. If I want to play hard, I also want to do the effort of playing hard. I want to feel that I'm playing hard. And if I play fast, also I want to feel that I play fast. I feel the effort. I feel all of those things. So I like that idea, but again, that's just me. I got blisters on my fingers and can't play right now. I'm so mad. He says RG. Yeah, that's a thing that will get you a little frustrated when you're beginning playing. I would say then when you play a lot of years, you develop so much calluses and blisters that then the process is a little bit weirder. You kind of like I think I feel the tip of my fingers, and I can feel kind of like a leathery sensation on it, and it's almost like I'm having a little bit of glue on the tip of my finger, because it's been so much of this and playing and all of that you develop kind of like a calloused tip of the fingers on the right hand and left hand. So then it will be easier on that. The things that I did when I developed blisters usually was just not playing. Not playing is good, because you just let it over there and you don't damage your blister. Because if you don't, if you kind of like go through the test of not damaging the blister, that kind of like becomes a callus, right? You can also drain it. I think sometimes I drained the blister with a little needle, so the liquid of it kind of like came out and it dried out. But I think the best idea is just to leave it and don't do anything, right? That will also affect your tone a lot. I think if you want to kind of like develop a different kind of a more mature tone, it always has to do with how much hardness you have on your fingertips, in a way. Because if I were to play look, I think I have blisters on my calluses on my finger, on my index and middle fingers. So it's as you always hear, it's something like this that I'm playing. here on my ring finger, I never use it, so this is the sound that you may get on a soft finger. I'm applying the same amount of strength again with callus, without it, and you can feel the difference because I have more hardness over here, so I'm playing with something a little bit more hard. It's like I'm playing with a little bit of the hardness of a pick or something like that, right? So that changes a little bit of the tone, but it's a process that you have to develop. You have to develop that kind of a callus on your fingers, right? Okay, I think I'm going to leave it for today. I'm going to leave it right here. I kind of I always lose a little bit of the experience of talking alone. I don't do that. I don't do that much, and I'm also not a native English speaker, so I have to think about what I'm saying in English because I'm thinking always in Spanish, and it's something difficult. Sorry about that. I'm trying to improve my pronunciation also. I'm trying to improve my way of speaking, and it's hard. So thank you for that, for bearing with me, I think. And I'm going to try to do some of these things more every Friday, okay? Every Friday I'm going to try to maybe just ramble on about some things that I think are important for you, and trying to answer your questions, okay? So I don't know if you have final words for for all of this. You can let them be expressed here on the chat, and that's it. Okay, let's begin with this. Let's begin with this every Friday. Okay, I'm going to try to have maybe an hour of answering questions and seeing what we can do. Okay, that's it. See you soon and goodbye.